Is it possible to predict the future? In today's episode, we look at Ryo Tatsuki, a Japanese manga artist who has garnered a lot of readers and attention, especially recently, with many believing that she can, in fact, predict the future. Welcome to another episode of Forbidden Records. I'm Ansel, and today we will be diving headfirst into the story of a future-predicting Japanese manga called The Future I Saw by Ryo Tatsuki. So the manga series was first published on July 1st, 1999. And later reprinted and published on October 1st of 2021. Then, on April 1st of 2022, more diary entries were released as extras that were linked to the original manga series. So, before we talk about her predictions, let's start with some background. See, Ryo Tatsuki started recording down these dreams that she would have back in 1985. When she first received a notebook from her mother. She would write down all of her dreams for several years, until the 1990s when she suffered from a severe case of writer's block, which, if you're someone who enjoys writing, you would understand the struggle. And now this struggle was actually what led her to her decision to quit writing. And as like a last hurrah for her writing career, Tatsuki compiled all of her previous works and manga into a single volume, which was published. And now during this process of writing and remaking this whole manga series as her final compilation, Tatsuki said that she was actually struggling to come up with the last text to write on one of the notebook pages on the cover of this final manga volume. She claimed that one night she had a dream that was just in plain text. The disaster will arrive in March of 2011 on a white screen. And while keeping to her trend of writing her dreams into her series, she wrote, "Great disaster, year 2011, month 3. That is March, on the cover of the book, which she published on July 1st of 1999. After it was successfully published, Tatsuki retired from the industry. Now the book explains of Tatsuki's dreams and real-life connections, including a large tsunami that she dreamt about. A total of 15 dreams were depicted in the pages of her book, and out of the 15, 13 of them have actually happened. So these dreams that she had quickly became known for more than just dreams. You know, they were the predictions rather than dreams, and some that have an inconclusive result given how many of them that came true. So let's look at what these predictions are. So first, the death of music legend Freddie Mercury. Now, Tatsuki dreamt of the death of Freddie Mercury back in 1991, several months before it actually happened. And in her dream, she dreamt that it would happen within a few months, and the cause of death being AIDS. And indeed, on November 24th, 1991, Freddie Mercury was reported dead. The cause of death? AIDS. Now before this, however, in the early 1990s, Tatsuki had a dream of a beloved singer falling ill with AIDS, and this dream supported her later dream and what we know to be true after. Now in her second dream that happened in 1995, January 2nd, the dream saw a major earthquake in Kobe within the next 15 days. And in reality, on January 17th, 1995, exactly 15 days after her dream, a 7.3 magnitude earthquake, known as the Great Hanshin Earthquake, hit Kobe, just as she has seen in her dream, killing more than 5,000 people. The third is her most popular dream that many have known her from, and solidified her dreams to be perceived as predictions. On March 11th, 1996, Tatsuki Ryo dreamt of a massive disaster in eastern Japan that would happen 15 years later. And exactly 15 years later, on March 11th, 2011, a 9.0 magnitude undersea earthquake in the Pacific Ocean caused an earthquake in the Tohoku region. And with such a high magnitude, the earthquake also triggered a 10-meter high tsunami. A total of 19,759 lives were lost in this tragedy. Now her fourth dream was the death of Princess Diana. On the night of August 31st, 1992, Tatsuki saw the words, "Diana dies," on August 31st, 1997 in her dream. And just as she had seen in her dream, Princess Diana tragically passed in a car accident on 31st of August, 1997 at the age of 36 in Paris. Now, let's talk about something that's a little closer to their timeline. The year 2020. I'm sure the year 2020 is a year that everyone is familiar with, good or bad. The year of the world being hit by the COVID-19 or the coronavirus outbreak, which peaked in the April. Well, Tatsuki also dreamt of this in her 5th dream. In January 2nd, 1995, Tatsuki dreamt of an unknown virus happening in 2020 that would peak in April and disappear before returning again in 2030. This dream has yet to be confirmed to be completely accurate, as we have only gone through half of her dream so far. But the first half of her dream was right on the nail about it. So I guess we just have to wait to see if the second half also happens. Now, in her 6th dream, Tatsuki dreamt of her own death as a manga artist in the year 2000. She dreamt this in 1995 on January 2nd, when in actuality, she retired from her career in 2020 after publishing her compilation of works. Now, when you think Japan, one of the most iconic things you think about is the iconic Mount Fuji. Well, this iconic Mount Fuji was also in one of her dreams. On August 20th, 1991, she had a dream about Mount Fuji erupting on August 20th, 2021, and possibly every 15 years after that. Fortunately, that dream did not happen, as no eruption happened in 2021. But her mention of every 15 years after that potentially having an eruption leaves this dream prediction with an open ending, as we await 2036. Next, we have the Kanagawa earthquake and tsunami. In the mid-1991, Tatsuki had her 7th dream, where she saw an earthquake and tsunami in the Kanagawa happening between June to September of 2026. This is also another prediction with no results as to how accurate it is, as it has yet to happen, but I think I might stay away from Kanagawa mid of next year, just to be safe. And then we have her 8th dream, right? The dream that has recently had the internet and the people riled up. The mega tsunami that would happen between Japan and Philippines, affecting Taiwan, Japan, Indonesia, and the Philippines. Now, this tsunami was supposed to happen on the 5th of July, 2025, just a few days ago. And many travelers had their plans cancelled, and others kept their eyes on the news, monitoring if this dream would become a reality, as so many did before. Luckily, while several earthquakes had been reported in Japan during that time period, no mega tsunamis were actually reported, and no known date has been reported of when she had this dream, but it was drawn in her manga that was released in the 1999. Now, this next one is up to you to decide if it really happened. In her 9th dream, the 1995 Sakhalin earthquake. She dreamt of this in January of 1995 and saw a major earthquake happening in the north. Now, this prediction was a little vague, and in reality, a 7.0 magnitude earthquake happened in Sakhalin on May 27th, 1995. Killing roughly 2,000 people. Now, with how vague the dream was and the dates being like 5 months off, makes this a debatable prediction. But let me know what your verdict is on this in the comments below. Now, in her 10th dream is yet another clear and ambiguous prediction. She had this in the early 1990s and predicted a sudden death of a famous celebrity in the late 1990s. However, Yukiko Okada died in 1986, making this inapplicable, as mentioned in her prediction that it was supposed to happen before the early 1990s. Now, with no actual celebrity name mentioned in her prediction, this dream was too vague to be given credit of any actual predictions. Now, we'll talk about her 11th dream, the collapse of the NYC skyscrapers. This was her 11th dream in the 1990s. Tatsuki predicted the collapse of tall buildings. In reality, it is an event in history I'm sure most people know of, the tragedies that happened on September 11th, 2001. The collapse of the World Trade Center, known as the 9/11. This prediction was also a speculative outcome, as people debate if this dream was really about the 9/11 tragedies. Now, between the 1980s to the 1990s, Tatsuki had a dream of strange lights in the sky. Now, this could potentially be linked to the meteors or rocket lights in 2011, but it was unclear, as once again, the dream was too vague. Not much details were given about this dream, and hence, no confirmation of the dream being an accurate prediction were ever made. And along that same timeline, Tatsuki had another dream of a global catastrophe around the year 2000 and climate disasters following it. What this might have predicted was the 2004 Indian Ocean tsunami and the worsening of climate issues. However, this was also vague and unconfirmed. Now let's look at the origin of series 2 and 3 of her manga series. Now, because of the attention and popularity that Ryo Tatsuki had garnered, a man pretending to be her, as her identity was not really something that was very clear and no one besides her family and friends actually knew who she really was, this man started spreading fake predictions using her name. Now, a publisher who caught wind of these predictions then contacted the man and printed the books. This was when a relative of Tatsuki actually brought this to her attention after being surprised that there were more books being published under Tatsuki's name. She then immediately contacted the publisher who helped to publish these new books. And only then did the publisher know that Tatsuki was actually a female and that the man was actually a hoax. They then planned a reproduction of the complete edition that the artist added newer dreams that she had. Acerca Shrine, the publisher of the books, received a call from Tatsuki telling them that she never agreed to the reprinting of her work. And after everything was exposed and explained, the man impersonating her was stopped. But he was let off easy, as Tatsuki did not press any charges against him and let him continue living his quiet life. Now, how this happened to begin with this whole impersonation thing, was that Tatsuki originally rejected an offer to republish her book, and so this impersonator took this opportunity to commit and to agree to the republication. Though no names were actually leaked of this man's identity, the man is believed to be a middle-aged man born in 1976 and a believer of pseudo-religion in Japan. However, till date, the impersonator is actually still using a blog post that's dedicated to the author. Now, perhaps this man is a fan of the author, or perhaps he is lurking, waiting for his next opportunity. So seeing as how this is all about a manga book series by a Japanese author, let's look at some of the details of the book. In 1999, when the publication published the first version of the book, it only brought the well-known predictions of the death of Freddie Mercury and the Great Kobe earthquake into the spotlight. This shot the author into being famous enough to actually be buried in money and just retire. Then the Tohoku earthquakes occurred and the entertainment programs resurrected the attention of the manga series. It was during this time that the impersonator took this opportunity to write the coattails of all the attention and published the fake publications with Acerca Shrine. And after the truth was brought to light and the real author stepped forward, the publishing agency and the author released a full edition of her manga that included new dreams, including the eruption of Mount Fuji and another giant tsunami prophecy, which led predictions of it taking place between 2025 to 2026 or 2030 to 2031. And the uncertainty of the dream coming true just as she had dreamed. In the case of the Mount Fuji prediction, which was first dreamt in August 20th, 1991, and while it did not actually happen, the author's interpretation of that dream was that it was actually in more of a symbolic sense. So is it possible for us to predict the future? Or is it just a string of coincidences? Who knows for certain? Maybe it really is possible. Personally, I would rather have the benefit of the doubt. You know, it's not every day that someone can have that many coincidences happen years or months before it actually even happened. And from deaths to earthquakes to tsunamis, these dreams that she had seemed to be able to see them all. She never claimed to be able to predict the future or to gain fame, for being some sort of clairvoyant or psychic. She has said that these were just dreams, and she interprets them more so as a symbolic than something that's literal. Now, in the future, we will be talking more about cases related to tsunamis, more predictions, and many more of the mysteries of the human world. But until then, let me know what you think in the comments below. Are those inconclusive predictions true or not? Also, I would really appreciate it if you could hit that subscribe button and like if you've enjoyed this video and you want to see more. And till the next episode, keep looking towards the future. See ya!